Okay, we are going to start our unit on genetics and heredity. Okay, so our essential question today is how do we describe asexual reproduction? So this is learning target 28. Explain how organisms reproduce asexually. Okay, so we're going to talk about asexual reproductions. There are two types, asexual and sexual reproduction, and we will talk about both. Asexual reproduction is when the offspring is identical to the parent. Pretty much you have one cell that splits into two. When that happens, that is called cell division. Okay, now to start off our unit on genetics and heredity, we have to understand how our cells reproduce because remember, all living things is made up of cells. The cell is the basic unit and function of all living things. All living things start out as one cell, and then they grow as more and more cells are created. So, we need to talk about the cell cycle. How does a cell reproduce? And the two main phases of a cell cycle are interphase and mitosis. The next set of notes that's also on this target we will go into interphase and mitosis. So we will come back to the cell cycle. Okay, interphase is part of a cell where the cell is growing and developing. So this is where the cell is creating all the parts of the cell, all those organelles like the mitochondria, the Golgi body, the ER, the ribosomes. So this is when the cell is growing in development. Okay, this is the longest time of any cell spent in the interphase that when the cell is growing and develop. However, there are some cells that don't reproduce. Nerve, muscle, and brain cells do not reproduce, so they always spend their whole entire life cycle in the interphase. Now, other types of cells in your body, like your skin cells and your sex cells, will go through a cell cycle of interphase and mitosis. Mitosis is the phase of the cell cycle where reproduction, creating a new cell, occurs. Okay, so this is a picture of a cell that is going through interphase. Pretty much what is happening is the cell is creating all that chromatin that's going to turn into chromosomes. You've got the nucleus, the nuclear membrane. Inside the plasma, even though this picture doesn't have it, there's a lot of other organelles like the mitochondria and the ER. That's where these are. Centrioles, we'll get to a little bit later. Okay, now there are different types of asexual reproduction. Fission, bacteria reproduce by fission, which is a type of asexual reproduction. This is where a cell makes a copy of everything and splits into two identical cells. So the cell is going through interphase. When it makes a copy of everything, it's going to split into two identical cells. That is fission. So you start off with one cell. It's in the phase of interphase. It's making copies of everything, and it's going to split into two identical cells. Let me show you another picture of this. This is a bacteria cell. It starts out, that's the genetic material. In interphase, the cell is going to make copies of the genetic material. Then it's going to split into two cells that are exactly like the parent. They're identical. So that's fission, and bacteria will reproduce by fission. Another type of asexual reproduction is budding. Okay, budding is a hydra will reproduce by budding. Pretty much a new organism is growing from the body of the parent. So here's the hydra. This bud is the new organism that's going to grow from the parent, and it's going to be identical to the parent as well. So that's an example of budding. Regeneration is another type of asexual reproduction. You'll see this happen in sponges, planaria, sea stars, and lizards. Okay, this sea star right here is regrowing its body part right now. So that's regeneration. So those are the three types of asexual reproduction. Regeneration, budding, and fission. Now, remember, we are going to go into the cell cycle in more detail. That's the next section of notes on Target 28. So Target 28 actually has two videos for notes that go with it. So you'll need to watch both videos to understand how organisms reproduce asexually.